We just learned that she left her press pool behind to attend an event at Howard University yesterday.
Why do we have these reporters following me around all the time? To hell with them. As you know, Kamala Harris has been under intense media pressure. I mean, what this woman has had to put up with. I mean, they're just dogging her. You know, the other day I said on the program, why do these media organizations like Bloomberg and Reuters and AP and Politico and ABI, all these guys, why are they shelling out millions of dollars to pay for their reporters to be on the plane with Kamala Harris and fly all over the country and cover them when she's literally not talking to them? She's ignoring them. I mean, they can literally be covering this from their living room, right? I think I made this point yesterday. And here's the funny thing. According to Peter Doocy at Fox News, Kamala Harris thinks that's actually a pretty good idea. She's like, why do we have these reporters following me around all the time? To hell with them. And so yesterday she tried to ditch them.
Something new tonight. As the presumptive nominee, Vice President Harris is supposed to travel everywhere she goes with a protective press pool. We just learned that she left her press pool behind to attend an event at Howard University yesterday. We've reached out to her office. We are waiting back. We are awaiting an answer back from them as to why she didn't want a small group of reporters documenting her trip across town.
Yeah, good question. Howard University, which is her alma mater, right across town in D.C. Why would she not want that? And by the way, they call it a protective pool. This is kind of gross, but this is just sort of an inside D.C. media thing. There's a press pool that goes and follows the president and vice president around all the time. And they have morbid names for them, but it's basically to just have a camera and a set of eyes from the media on the two most powerful people in the city and in the country and in the world, really, to immediately report if one of them drops dead. It really is. They call it a protective pool, but it's basically just to chronicle everything that they do. They're called pool reporters. And what they do is they file a pool report, and then all the other media outlets pick up that pool report. And you'll hear them refer to it a lot. You know, according to a pool report, Joe Biden slurred his way through another speech tonight at Howard University or whatever. So why would you ditch them? Well, I mean, there's only one reason why you would ditch them, because you were doing something that you didn't want them to know about. You didn't want them to see, or you didn't want them to hear, and you didn't want them telling anybody about it. Otherwise, I mean, what? Because they're so hostile, because they're dogging you so much. Now, Howard University is in downtown D.C. It's further uptown from the White House. It's actually close to, sort of in the neighborhood of where Barack Obama lives, actually. I don't even know if he's in town. But it is interesting, isn't it? Absolutely fascinating that yesterday she decided to ditch her press pool. And believe it or not, some reporters are actually starting to show a little bit of dignity, a little, just the teeniest glimpse of pride. Take, for instance, this guy. I mean, Jim Acosta is actually nothing but a giant pile of pride. He could do without some pride, actually. But as you know, Jim Acosta made his name as part of the White House pool, asking offensive, obnoxious, and rude questions to Donald Trump. Frankly, debating Donald Trump during press appearances. You remember when presidents used to do press appearances and answer questions from reporters? Oh, those were the good old days. Anyway, that's where Jim Acosta got his name. And so Jim Acosta is just, venturing to ask, don't want to be impolite, don't want to be rude, don't want to rock the boat. Don't worry, pal, we're on your side. But I'm just curious, he says to the spokesperson for the Harris campaign, just curious. Any interest in doing maybe a press conference? Again, don't want to ruffle anyone's feathers. Don't want to get on your bad side. You know I'm on your team. Look, I tattooed Kamala's face on my chest. But maybe, just maybe, consider a press conference. Let's take a look at how that exchange went.
Would it kill you guys to have a press conference? Why hasn't she had a press conference?
Listen, the Vice President and Governor Walz have been busy crisscrossing this country since the launch of this campaign and adding Governor Walz to the ticket. You saw the ways in which they went across the battleground states last week, generating rallies of thousands, 10,000 here, 15,000 there. But
Michael, a campaign rally is not a press conference. Do you mind if I cut in? I mean, a campaign rally is not a press conference. Why hasn't she had a press conference? She's the vice president. She can handle the questions. Why not do it?
We absolutely are going to do it. You hear her take questions as she's out on the stump. And she said last week We're going to be having a sit-down interview here before the end of the month. What she's going to be focused on and what this campaign is going to be focused on is communicating directly with the voters that are actually going to decide the pathway to 270 electoral votes. That's why she
commit to a press conference this week?
This past week. That's why we're doing a bus tour in Pennsylvania as we head into Chicago. And it's why we'll sit down for an interview before the end of the month to make sure that we can have a deep dive conversation about the vision that Kamala Harris has for where she wants to take this country and the contrast that we're going to have with Donald Trump. We're going to have plenty of opportunities to do that throughout the rest of
but one interview by the end of the month.
This month and throughout the rest of the campaign.
I don't want to, belabor this, but one interview before the end of the month. I mean, that's not a lot. I mean, can you commit to a press conference before the end of the month?
We will commit to directly engage with the voters that are actually going to decide this election. And that is going to be complete with rallies, with sit-down interviews, with press conferences, with all the digital assets that we have at our disposal.
The media's complete and total abdication of their responsibility covering politicians in a fair way is so evident now. And honestly, I'm glad Jim Acosta asked these questions, I suppose, but God, he deserves everything that he got there. My favorite part is at the beginning. If we could just look at it one more time, if you don't mind, let's watch it together.
Would it kill you guys to have a press conference? Why hasn't she had a press conference?
Listen,
that part right there. He literally laughed in his face. He literally laughed in his face. Why haven't you had a press conference? Kidding me? Why should we? Look, you're happy enough to have me. Your booker couldn't wait to get me on. Time Magazine just put her on the cover, didn't even have to, give an interview. Same with Essence. I'm sorry. You think that we should do some interviews so that we can get some positive coverage? Is that the upside of this? Oh, yeah, you should really grant us interviews so you can finally get some positive coverage from us. How could it get any better? There's no reason for them to. Jim Acosta has created this situation, and I'll show you the smoking gun evidence of how the media has created. They have basically made themselves irrelevant. The political reporters, the people and the organizations who are paid obscene amounts of money to cover politics, elections, and elected officials in this town in Washington, D.C., the people who make that obscene amount of money, and they make it because of your viewership, because of your subscriptions, or because you buy the products that are advertised on their networks. The people who make all of that obscene money have actually created the atmosphere where they have rendered themselves completely irrelevant in this election. And I'll show you why in just a moment. But it's obviously getting out of hand when Jim Acosta actually has to dare to. And again, he says, I don't want to labor the point. Why not labor the point? In fact, if Jim Acosta had any kind of real cojones, he would have made that entire interview about this until he actually had a satisfactory answer. But, a minute 40 into the exchange, well, I don't want to labor the point. Why not, Jim? Labor the point. I remember you laboring the point about the poem on the pedestal of the Statue of Liberty when you were questioning Trump administration officials about immigration and border policies. Labor the point. Labor away, Jim. No, but not with my pal. Can we just watch him laugh in his face one more time?
Conference.
Listen, the vice.
He deserves every moment of that. Even in the realm of sports, Stephen A. Smith, who also comments on politics and pop culture at large, he finds it debasing and embarrassing for people who call themselves journalists and reporters. Remember something that I've told you in the past. These sports reporters, a lot of them, not Stephen A., he's a former athlete, but a lot of the people who are sports journalists, you always wonder why is sports so political? Why do these sports reporters always write about politics? Well, because they went to the same journalism schools as the political reporters. It's just that they weren't really smart enough to cover the government. So they ended up in sports. But trust me, they all went to the same journalism schools. USC, Northwestern, Syracuse, Villanova, I think, also has one of the larger journalism schools. American University. They all are bred in these festering little petri dishes of radical left-wing politics, where they're told that their job as journalists to change the world and to fight the man. And so then when they get into sports journalism, they're like, oh, so we can change the world and fight the man while we're covering Colin Kaepernick or while we're covering LeBron James. Do you ever wonder why when a guy gets killed by a police officer in Minneapolis, suddenly that's all over your sports network? It's because of journalists who go to journalism school. They love talking about politics. They love any opportunity they have to talk about politics. The very sad fact of the matter is most sports journalists hate sports. They hold it in contempt. It's just, service as a paycheck for them, but they think they're more important than sports. That's why you don't get an escape anymore when you watch sports. All right, here's Stephen A. Hey, thank you, Nanya. That's very sweet. Good for you, Ms. Beeswax.
That doesn't mean shit to me. It means nothing to me. Let me show y'all this poll to juxtapose what was transpiring in June. National poll, August 12th, has Harris up 48% to 47% for Trump. That's as of today. Okay? That's what the national poll average is showing. Less than 2 months ago, June 28th, Trump had a 5-point lead. Okay? So let's understand something. Let's understand this right now. First to say, that doesn't mean shit to me. It means nothing to me. You running for the presidency of the United States of America. What you hiding for? United States. Not one single press conference, not one single one-on-one sit-down interview where somebody gets to question you about the questions that we ask. That's
what you hiding for? I'll tell you what you're hiding for. And Stephen A., you should know this because you're all about sports. You're all about competition, right? You're all about the rules of the game. Well, what are the rules of the game here? What is Kamala Harris's job right now? It's Kamala Harris's job to answer some question from Anderson Cooper or George Stephanopoulos or even Jen Psaki, who, God knows who knows, they probably double date together. No. And her job isn't to answer questions to me, or her job isn't to answer any questions from Stephen A. Smith. What's Kamala Harris's job right now? Win. That's how she's looking at this. She's not stupid. I mean, she is stupid, but she's not stupid. Her job is to win. You just showed the reason why she's not going to sit with you, Stephen A. Smith, or any other reporter. She's not hiding. She's celebrating. She just gained 4 points in the polls in 3 weeks because you and your pals, your little chain gang over there, that's not the word I'm looking for. Chain gang? What the hell did that come from? Your little party pals. You've allowed her and celebrated her and put her on magazines, and you do all these puff pieces, and you're talking about what a transcendent political figure she is when she's dumb as box of bricks. You've actually helped her. So why should she sit with you? Her job is not to answer your questions. Her job is not to give a press conference. Her job is to win the election. And as long as she continues to do well, she's not going to do it. And really, what's that sit down supposed to look like? Let's not forget, before Kamala Harris was the nominee, when she was the vice president, she did do sit down back and forth. Here she is, New York Times, one-on-one, where she gets pressed on the state of the president. Now, this is back when Biden was the nominee. And the questioning was, listen, everybody knows Biden can't survive the next 4 years. So if you're voting for Biden, aren't we really voting for you for president? And recognize something. As you watch her answer this question, this is from 2 months ago, I think. She knows the truth about Joe Biden. We know the truth about Joe Biden. We know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. Now watch how she answered the question.
Is a vote for Biden a vote for President Harris?
A vote for President Biden is a vote for President Biden and Vice President Harris. We are a ticket. It's called Biden-Harris. That's the administration. That's
Right.
on the ticket.
Okay,
Yes,
let me
I
ask
was
you-
elected.
Okay,
And I intend to be reelected, as does the
let
president.
me ask you in a different way then. No. I think there's a lot of people would say she can't say anything else. She couldn't tell if there was a problem.
I'm not lying.
If there
I'm
was,
but I'm telling you a fact.
but if there ever is a problem,
Yeah.
do you think that you could go tell the American public? Do you think in your role that you're in a position to do that?
Of course, if necessary, but there's no need for that.
Okay, so she was lying, an absolute lie. And that should be the first through 10 questions of a wide range of multi-day interviews that she should be forced into. But of course she won't, because who's going to force her? But that right there, we know what a big lie that was. And you know how you know it's a lie? Because in the middle of it, she says, I'm not lying. Remember how Joe Biden would always go, I'm not kidding. It's not a joke. Telling you the truth, God's honest truth. That was always the tell. He's lying. Now she says, I'm not lying, or she laughs. That's her tell. That's why they're telling her not to laugh anymore. So this is what a sit down with Kamala Harris looks like. And what they have to do is reprogram her not to do that. But here's the thing. Again, the media is letting her do this. They are marveling at the fact they're going to pretend. They're going to say, oh, yes, oh, it's terrible that she hasn't done a press conference. Okay, why do you keep talking about her? Why do you keep doing profiles on her? Why do you have her spokespeople on? Next time her spokesperson or a surrogate comes on and says, we want to talk on behalf of Kamala Harris, says, hey, no, thank you. We're all full up today. Now, we'll talk to the candidate or nobody else. See, they could do that. They won't do that. And why should Kamala Harris bother to try to get, earned coverage? That's what they call it, earned coverage, earned media, by going and doing an interview when you can just cheat, when you can just game the Google AdSense system to actually insert your own paid ads that pop up at the top of Google search that look like articles written about you, that look like USA Today or AP News or CNN or The Guardian or NPR are actually endorsing you. What you see here is a great compilation made by Colin Rugg to show you exactly what they've done. Each one of these headlines, as you can see, is paid for by the Harris for President presidential campaign. It identifies CNN, AP News, The Independent, Reuters, CBS News, all across the board. And look at the headlines. Harris will lower health costs. VP Harris's economic vision, lower costs and higher wages. Inflation is down, as if they're news reports, but they're not. They're ads. But they have cheated. They have gamed the Google ad system to have these pop up to appear as though they're news reports. So again, and if you're CBS News, if you're USA Today or CNN or any of these places, and you have any level of self-respect, aren't you pissed off right now? Don't you use our name? Don't you? For God's sake, we have freaking pop stars who wrote songs back in the mid-'70s who you haven't heard. Isaac Hayes. When was the last time you heard Isaac Hayes? He just passed away a couple of years ago. Isaac Hayes' estate is suing Donald Trump because he's using one of his songs at his rallies. And they're all indignant and they're suing. Where are the lawsuits from these guys? Their names, their logos are being used in advertisements, falsely telling the public that they're endorsing or writing these glowing articles about Kamala Harris, as if they need to lie about that, by the way. They're already writing glowing articles about Kamala Harris. And they're just openly cheating. And the only people I've seen covering it are Fox News. Here's their report on it.
Campaign accused of manipulating headlines. Axios reporting the campaign is giving real news articles a pro-Kamala Harris spin and then using them in Google ads. Martha McCallum's been looking at this, and she joins us now. Good morning to you. Welcome back.
Good morning,
nice
Bill.
to see you.
Great to see you.
Get ready for Chicago, all right?
Here we go.
Save that for a moment here. So the trick was we'll make it like an ad, and we'll reframe the headline so that when you're searching, maybe you see the spot and you read the headline, but maybe you don't understand that it's actually sponsored by the campaign. Show it, guys. Here we go. So this involved what? They cited CNN, NPR, Reuters, Associated Press, The Guardian a lot. And you would see this as you were going through your internet search. And, well, that's cheating.
Wow, it is. This is really, and I should also point out that Google says that there was a glitch in their system that meant that some of the sort of barriers that they try to put in to make it clear what this is weren't working.
Hey, guys, it was just a glitch. It's just a glitch in the system. Stupid us. We're just Google. We're, what do you think we are? Like rocket scientists or computer nerds or something? We're just sort of figuring this out as we go. Just a glitch. So sorry. These glitches are amazing. Have you ever noticed these glitches keep happening? There's always glitches. Social media glitches, algorithm glitches, Google glitches. You couldn't find information about the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Oh, it's a glitch. Yeah, all these glitches, they always happen in one direction. Is it me? I'd love to be wrong about this. I'd love to be wrong, but it seems like the glitches are always happening in one direction to the detriment of one political party or ideology or candidate and to the benefit of the exact opposite political party, ideology, or candidate. It's just a glitch, though. Trust us on this. It's just a glitch. I love the fact that somewhere in the Kamala Harris for president campaign offices, they were sitting around and they were like, you guys, you know what? This sucks, man. Google isn't doing nearly enough for us. I mean, if you search Donald Trump right now, the top 5 results are Kamala Harris. That's no good. Should be the first 10 results. Hey, I've got an idea. Let's cheat and use Google ads to increase the hits we're getting. Because, one thing that everyone can objectively say is that big tech and organizations, companies like Google, they just don't do enough to hurt Donald Trump. They're not doing nearly enough to help the Democrats. So they came up with a great idea. You gotta, admire the ingenuity. When you're focused on cheating and figuring out how to steal an election, it's amazing how creative you can be. Oh, did I say steal an election? Hypothetically, of course. It's just a glitch.
Oops. I wonder if it was true for other campaigns as well. We don't know that yet, but they say they're looking into that. But just as an example, so this is a Guardian headline. VP Harris fights abortion bans. Harris defends reproductive freedom. Well, those things are true. That's a factual statement. That's something that she backs and supports. But then they have a description under the headline. So you know how there's a headline when you read a news story. Then there's an under headline that you read in the news story. But it says this: VP Harris is a champion for reproductive freedom and will stop Trump's abortion bans. So the second line in what looks like a news story is actually a campaign slogan, a campaign statement. And, we all look at so much information, take in so many things so quickly throughout the day, right? This is very subtle, very manipulative. And in a moment when you also have a stepped up threat from Iran trying to get their bots into all of this and influence people in ways that are very subtle and difficult to figure out. This is something that I think requires a lot of diligence on the part of people who are looking for this information.
And Google says it's just what? They got one by the goalie?
Yeah, Google says, well, there was a glitch. There's supposed to be more disclosure that this is an ad, a campaign ad, and they're gonna work on it.
Yeah, they're gonna work on that, guys. Just a glitch. It was just one of those 1 in a million things. Just like the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Again, I mean, gosh, total brain fart here over at the Secret Service. We don't know what we were thinking. Sorry, man. Well, we won't let that happen again. It's just, Dr. Jill had 13 people monitoring the grounds at her event that had 300 people indoors. And again, I'm not trying to pull on too many threads. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to get in trouble or anything. These are just glitches, once in a lifetime situations. I had mentioned before that the media has basically, journalists in general, reporters, media organizations, they have done this to themselves. They have, in fact, rendered themselves irrelevant in the political conversation this year. It's one of the reasons why our audience is growing exponentially every single day. And we thank you and we love you and we salute you for that, because you know that you're not getting the truth elsewhere. And when you see CNN and ESPN and other new media outlets whining and complaining because Kamala Harris won't talk to them and won't give them interviews, and I say, why? She literally doesn't need them. And they have told them, the media, those news outlets, they have told the Harris campaign, they have told Kamala Harris, don't worry, we got your back. You don't have to talk to us. And they go so even far as to create their own fake headlines and fake stories and put them out there and pay for them as Google ads to make it look like it. And none of these news outlets are angry about it. But this all actually happened not when Kamala Harris became the nominee and not during COVID in 2020. This all happened right after you did the unthinkable, right after you did the unforgivable, right after you, as a nation, using the Electoral College system that is enshrined in our Constitution from our founding, decided that Hillary Clinton should not be president of the United States. The week after that happened, I don't know if you remember it, we were all celebrating, we were all marveling at this incredible, phenomenal upset victory of Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. But you saw news outlet after news outlet after news outlet, and journalism school after journalism school after journalism school, all openly talking about how everything has to change now in political journalism, that this was a reckoning, that we can no longer cover politics the way we used to. Go to your favorite search engine. I like to use Microsoft Bing just because it's because it's not Google. And just type in journalists reckoning after 2016 election. Pointer, they cover journalism for journalists. How the 2016 campaign changed political journalism. Covering politics in a post-truth America from Brookings. Journalism after Trump, the American Journal of Cultural Society. Correcting false information. Taylor and Francis online. It goes on and on. As race titan news anchors seemed as stunned as anyone. Columbia Journalism Review. Here's to the return of journalists as malcontent. The Economist, the lessons for political journalists from the presidential election. We asked the expert, how did news media fare in the election of, that's 2020? To our readers from the publisher and executive editor of the New York Times. That was November 13th, 2016. That was the New York Times telling their readers about what they did wrong. They signaled from the week after that election that they would no longer cover politics the way they used to. That they would now be proactive, that they were part of the game. Now, those of us who have been watching this for many, many years know that they've always been part of the game. But after the election of 2016, they threw away all pretense. They have already telegraphed and signaled to the Democrats, whoever the nominee is, whether it's Biden or Harris, they have already let them know that they are not going to do anything that will let Donald Trump win this election. They will proact. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to succeed. If Donald Trump wins the election, it will be despite the corporate legacy propaganda media in this country. But they have already let Kamala Harris know that they've got their back, that they are not doing the job that they pretend to do, that they will not do anything that lets Donald Trump into the White House. And so why should Kamala Harris do anything with them? Honestly, I mean, I'm being completely 100% transparent with you. I'm not trying to be funny or rhetorical. Seriously, if you're Kamala Harris, why do you give anybody an interview? What's the upside of that? Now, she's going to eventually, but it's going to be so rehearsed. It's going to be so scripted. It's going to be meaningless. At this point, it is meaningless because the media has rendered themselves irrelevant in the political conversation in America. That's not where people go anymore. Not for real coverage of the politics. They've already told the world that they don't care to do that anymore. So they won't. Listen, I want to be clear here. The news media has always been biased. They've always shown a bias. All right? I don't ask for unbiased political coverage. Neither do you. You're not naive. You're not stupid. You get it. There is bias in political coverage. And by the way, we like it. We want political coverage that doesn't treat us like an infant, like a child, that lies to us and pretends that the people delivering you the news don't have any vested interest in the outcome. We all have a vested interest in the outcome. So don't pretend otherwise. Don't lie to me. No, I don't want unbiased political coverage. I want fair political coverage. And there's a difference. And that's where they've fallen down on the job. That's where they've completely relinquished any kind of sense of dignity, pride, or professionalism. There's no fairness involved anymore. At least at all of those outlets that Kamala Harris just exploited for her Google ads to pretend like she's actually talking to them. It's kind of amazing to watch. Yeah, there was a reckoning for sure after 2016. The problem is all of those media outlets, they learned all the wrong lessons. What they should have done is actually decided to start listening to voters instead of listening to each other.